Hi, welcome to Cloud Love. My name is Marco Martinez, and today we will start with one of my favorite topics, and it's about Twilio. I started working with Twilio like 4 years ago, programming different stuff using programmable voice and programmable SMS. It's a very engaging tool, very funny tool to use, and we will see in this video series how to basically get trained on how to use their products. They have a training method called Twilio Quest. It's a gamification where they assign you different tasks in different missions on how to use their products. And basically we will do the same, but instead of just completing the missions with the instructions that they give us, we will complete the missions using any resource that is available. What I mean for that is that instead of just creating a resource under console or basic programming skills, we will complete the mission using Google Cloud, Azure, Amazon, a local server, and obviously the console or the web portal. So it's gonna be very funny. I hope that you like this video, and let's take a look. So let's start. First, here on the left side, we have our left side panel. We have missions. That's actually what we're seeing on the screen. Then we have inventory. Again, here you can actually equip new stuff. This thing doesn't do anything special. It's only just a way of showing off your accomplishments. Progress. It's exactly the same as missions, but now you have a progress bar that you can use to track your progress. Finally, settings. The name of your character, and you can change the skin color, eye colors, hair color, and hairstyle of your character. So let's move out to missions, getting started. And again, this is actually very simple. Let's start with the first one. The first one I already completed, and this is actually the second or third one. Third time I'm completing all Twilio missions on different accounts. So if we start with the first one, the first mission is to equip your Twilio chunks of increase preparedness. So that one it's extremely simple. You just have to go to the inventory and equip your tennis shoes. That's the first mission to get the first 50 points. Second one, let's click on the second one. Second one, have a voice and SMS enabled number. Blah blah blah. Scroll down, self verification to enter the brand new phone number to complete this objective. So, in other words, we have to buy a new number in Twilio, and that's all. Just buy a new number and copy paste the phone number, the +1 if you're in US, or +52 if you're in Mexico. So the phone number that you purchased in Twilio with country code, area code, and basically the full number in a self-verification text box. So let's start with that. And again, the nice thing about this video is that we will touch base on how to do that objective using the Twilio Console, Postman, Node.js, and different cloud providers. So Amazon, Azure, and Google Cloud. So let's start with the easiest one, and that's to use the Twilio Console. So this is my dashboard. And by the way, before we start buying stuff, I just want to show you something here. If you click on settings from your main console, from the dashboard, you have your API credentials. So we will use those credentials along this video to configure stuff from using the REST API. So you have your primary account, your production account, that's your account SID, that's basically your username. Then you have your authentication token, and your authentication token is like your password. So we will use your account SID and your account authorization token for doing transactions with the REST API. And on the right side, you have your test account SID, and your test account authorization token. The difference between the production one, live credentials, and test credentials. On the right side, your test credentials, everything that you do, you will get the response, but that response will be like a mock response. If you configure something, if you do something that's gonna be just like a mock response. You won't actually be spending anything. That's only for testing, and it's very useful when you are actually batch processing, or when you are testing a production. That, for example, when as an example, when you're buying or configuring 100 zip trunk phone numbers, again, it's a very costly thing to do experimentation. So you use your test credentials to basically experiment with the results of the REST API or the SDK, and without having to buy anything, or without having to worry about procuring stuff and creating unnecessary expenses while you're testing. So that's the purpose of test credentials. Side note, as a downside, not all functions or services are available in while using your test account. So that's the only bold note that I want to mention, that not all services are available, and not all not everything's available over there. And again, if you use your account live credentials or prod account, everything that you do here, it's basically pay as you go service. So if you buy a number, you will pay for that number, and even if you only use that number for 1 second. So it's a pay as you go model on the left side. So let's start. Let's go back. So first motion is to buy a phone number in Twilio. For that, from your dashboard, you click here on all products and services, go to phone numbers, and yes, from numbers here on you have a plus button to basically buy a new number. Again, my recommendation is that if you're just experimenting with Twilio, instead of buying a phone number from your own country, I highly recommend you to buy one from US. Before you click on anything, actually, let me just show you something. If, for example, I click here in Argentina, do a small search, you will still hear the price per month, but this is also the price when you just click on buy. You will instantly pay $8 when you click buy on one of those numbers. So this is $8, so it's quite expensive, but I actually seen numbers that go from up to $40 per month on toll-free numbers, or in countries that are rare. So for experimenting, for experimenting, I highly recommend you to go and buy a number from US. Those numbers are usually $1 for local numbers and $2 for toll-free numbers. So not very expensive, and again, you can just buy a couple of those numbers. So here I'm on the console. As you can see, when I just click on search, the system is just throwing up a set of numbers that are available to purchase or available to procure. As you can see, they're not in any specific order, and if you want to order them by region, for example, let's say that I want to order from a specific region, from Texas or Houston, or yes, this is a way of ordering numbers. Or if you want to order the list by the area code, you can also do that by providing the area code and using the drop down menu to specify that number. Here we also have capabilities. So let me just show you something here. Let me just go back to phone numbers, procure a new number. So here on capabilities at the bottom, you have any voice, fax, SMS, and multimedia messages checkboxes. So usually in US, you have most of the numbers support all the features. As you can see here in Mexico, phone number don't support SMS and don't support multimedia messages. So multimedia messages are SMS messages with photos or with audio content that you can for doing promotionals. Voice, fax capabilities. Remember that voice, we're talking about programmable voice, programmable fax, programmable SMS, and programmable multimedia messages. So when you want to narrow down your search of phone numbers that are capable of doing something very specifically, you can use the filters to specify that, okay, I want a number that supports programmable SMS that I want to use to send and receive SMS messages. So again, let's go back to our search. Again, we can buy any of those numbers. If you click buy, you will buy the number. So that's actually the simple way of buying numbers. I'm going to just show you a different way by using the REST API. So I already opened the instructions on how to use the API. So here I'm using Twilio.com docs for the REST API documentation, and here they're basically explaining on this website how to use the REST API, and also what is the process of finding. First, again, this is a two-step process. First, finding the list of available numbers, then grabbing one of those numbers and configuring that number as a resource on my account. So again, two-step process. Here I have the process on how to use the Node.js SDK from Twilio, but I also have the curl request, or a simple HTTP GET request to find the list of available numbers. So let's use that. So let's use the curl method first. For that I have Postman. So let's see, here is https api.twilio.com, year of the API, accounts, my account ID, /available phone numbers, /us.json. And you can actually narrow down the search by providing that local for local numbers, and toll-free for toll-free numbers, and mobile number for mobile numbers. So self-explanatory. For this tutorial, we will procure a local number, again $1 each. First, let's search for those available numbers. So on let's go on Postman to simulate, to actually not simulate, to make that REST API call. As you can see, I'm using variables, local variables and global variables for hiding my account ID and my authorization token. So I highly recommend you to never share or show your account ID and authorization token on any video, and actually don't use the information on code. So again, because again, those accounts, those credentials are your production account, your production credentials, and anyone can go and procure a number, make 100 phone calls or make 100 SMS messages from your account. And again, you're responsible for keeping your account safe and secret. So for that, again, I'm using variables in Postman to hide my account ID and authorization token. Again, your account ID is not very secret. Again, we will use that along this video, and you will see my account ID along this video. So again, I'm hiding everything. So again, this is the API for finding available phone numbers in the US. Let's send the request. And as you can see, I'm having a list of available phone numbers in a JSON object. So let me just copy that response. Let me just paste that here so we can have a better look on what we are dealing with. So this is JSON. Let me scroll up. So as you can see, it's an object with a key value of available phone numbers, then an array. And this is actually the URL that we just called. And again, an array of available numbers in this object. So every time that we're calling that API, we're receiving an array under available numbers key with an object of friendly name, phone number, area code, and basically the region of your phone number and the country of your phone number. And if your phone number is capable of doing programmable voice, programmable SMS, multimedia messages, and fax. So everything's in here. And again, for moving to the next part of procuring that number, again, we're just having here the list of available numbers that we can procure. we need this parameter phone number, that again it's having the country code, area code, and the number. So I'm gonna just copy that. Let me just clone or duplicate this tab. That's a post request. So if we go to the documentation, incoming phone numbers resource. So this is the second step of procuring a number. So incoming phone number is a resource that represents the Twilio phone number purchased from Twilio. So for that, here we have on the right the examples. Let's use a curl request. Let's copy this one. Phone numbers. This is the URL that we have to use. Let me also see if I can. No. So let's get our account ID from our first example. Okay, we have it. It says that we need authorization, so basic authorization. We're already doing that. We have our basic authorization. Username is our account ID, and password is our authorization token. So let's go back to our documentation and see what we need. It says here that we need to pass as a post request that we're sending something on the body of our request, formatted URL encoded, a key value of phone number with the value of the phone number that we want to procure. So let's do that. I'm gonna just copy that, my key of phone number, go to, and it's already set as a post request. So we have to send something on the body of our request, URL encoded, key, phone number, and value, we have to send our phone number. So remember that we just saw a list of numbers that we can procure. So let me just grab the phone number from the first result from our previous example, +1 404 566 5052. So that's the number I want to procure, and again that's that number. I got the number from using the list of available numbers for procurement. So let's pause that. Oh, we're missing something. We're missing headers. Yes, correct. Oh my god, I missed one H at the beginning of the URL. So okay, we have everything. Sending that request, and voila, we just completed. It's giving us a status result of 201, so an update status response. Let me copy this response, JSON response. I want to just paste that over here, so we can examine, get a better look of the response. So JSON. So first at the top we have this is the SID. This is the unique ID of our phone number. As you can see, it has a prefix. It starts with PN, so that's our resource unique ID. So the unique ID of our phone number. This is our account, so we are buying this resource from this account. Friendly name that you can actually configure and put wherever you want. Phone number, so this is the resource phone number. The method that we use, when we create it, when it was updated, blah blah blah, and more configuration if we have zip enable and all that stuff. Status callback. So this is basically at the bottom we have the triggers that we have to set up for our phone number. So again, we will see that in a minute, but just remember that this number is that we just procured a number, and at the bottom we have the configuration for that number. So how we want to react when we are receiving a call, and how we want to react when a call is completed, or when something happens on the call. So statuses for the call. So if I go back to my Twilio console, click on home, click on phone numbers, I will see that number that we just procured. So 404-566-5052, that's the number that we just procured using the REST API using Postman. So that's pretty cool. Again, for completing the first challenge, the condition is to basically use the number, so this number, the phone number, with country code in the objective. So right now I no longer have the text box, but you have to paste the phone number that you procure. So that's pretty cool. So we just completed Postman. So now let's use the Node.js local server to complete the same task. So let's see, I have here. So for using Node.js, let me close this. So by the way, I will also provide GitHub with everything that we are doing here. So if we go back to the documentation, official documentation from Twilio, if we click on Node.js, as you can see, Twilio is suggesting to use their SDK. We're using a client record Twilio, so we're basically using a Node.js library for Node.js. Again, it has its advantages. Again, they provide basically a way of procuring numbers, interacting with all the resources, and also they have very handy methods for interacting with phone calls. So to make a response for our interactions, not only procuring or configuring stuff in their cloud, but also how to interact with the calls that we're making or receiving, and also for SMS. So that's the Twilio SDK. For doing that, let me here. So for doing that, obviously you need to use Node, use the package manager, install Twilio --save for saving that in our package.json file. So that's for that. Again, right now we will try to do the same process of procuring a number using the Twilio SDK, but by using the official Twilio SDK. Okay, completed. So we now have the module installed, and if we go to our folders in Node modules, we have everything that was installed by this package. Okay, so let's see, procure a number. So I actually have here something that's already ready, and we will analyze it. So I'm gonna just first hide this part. So again, here is let's take a look at no, this is not the one. I'm actually HTTP procure numbers. We actually have to use the SDK procure number, this example. Perfect. So here I have it. As you can see, it's exactly the same thing. I'm not copy pasting the code from the example, but you will see that it's exactly the same thing that I have here on my example. So here we have two steps. The first step here is to procure a number. So to search for a list of available numbers. So let's search for numbers, available numbers, and the second part is to basically procure that number and make that number available in our console. So here it's everything wrapped in a synchronous function, so we can use the wait, then catch methods to make async calls. At the top, we are again doing the same thing as the official documentation, and it's to require the Twilio library. We're passing our account ID and authorization token. Again, I'm using for that I'm using the global or environment variables. And for that, you have in Windows, you have to set them using this command. So set Twilio account _ SID equal and your account ID. So if I give you one example, it will look like this on Windows. let me just grab my account. So this is for setting your environment variables on Node.js for Windows. Again, there are different methods on Linux and Mac. And again, you can actually click on Twilio Docs usage secure credentials on a tutorial on how to secure your account and token. Again, the purpose is to hide those details from anyone else. So again, yes, we already have our first method available, and that's for search for available numbers in US. We're narrowing down our search for this area code 510, I'm sorry, where we only want to show one number, so we can actually configure it to show more than one number. So I want the API to throw me 5 available numbers. So let's try that. So not SDK underscore procure phone numbers. Oh god, I'm not outputting the results to the console. My mistake. So let's try it again. See the result. So as you can see, I have again an array. So let me just narrow down the result to 1, so I don't have a ton of results. Here, let me just clear the console. Run again. As you can see, it's another. This is an array. Let me just copy that one on this format. So as you can see, it's clearly different from the REST API. Let me just paste it here. Let me paste that. This is an object, so it's a JSON thing. So it's a JavaScript object. So as you can see, it looks different from the REST API that by using this plain REST API. As you can see, it doesn't have the dashes. So friendly underscore name is no longer that. It's camel case, or friendly uppercase and name for name. So it's using camel casing for the SDK. So that's a clear difference. So that's something that you have to keep in mind when you switch from a plain REST API to the Twilio SDK. Okay, so we have that. So we know that this is the response. It's an array of with this object. And the thing that we are interested in order to move to the next step is the phone number. So this number. So let me just uncomment, remove the comment lines for this thing. So this one. So let's move to the second one. So the second one, Node.js. This is how we procure a number. As you can see, client incumbent phone numbers create. We have to pass an object with phone number and the phone number that we want to procure, and this is actually the result. So then console log the resource ID, the unique resource ID. So in other words, give me as a result this number, this unique ID. So let's do that. So let's jump to our code. We already uncomment that. We are again using a wait to create for a promise. So we are waiting for that resource to be for that process to be completed. Client incoming phone numbers, create phone number. We are passing the variable that we assigned when we search for of available numbers, and we are passing the key phone number. So in other words, we're just passing this part. So phone number from that array. Then basically give me everything as a result. So we're console log everything for that interaction. So let me save it. Let's give it a shot again. And yes, actually we have now a bigger response. It's an object. Copy this. Let me paste that here. And also let me just show that to you here so you can have a better look. So again, it's our account ID. Basically it looks pretty much identical. Again, instead of using underscores, now they are using camel casing for each key, but it's essentially the same thing that we saw on the REST API. And again, we have our resource ID that was created for this interaction. So again, let's save this one. Let's go back to our console. So we basically procure this phone number. So let's search for that number. +1 for US 510 area code. Let's go to our console. Phone numbers. And yes, we have our phone number that we just procure using the SDK from Twilio. Again, that's how we basically accomplish the same thing, but by using the Twilio SDK. So now let's try something different, and this is actually where the fun stuff starts. So let's just go back. Let me just show you something. Let me just go back to this folder. Let me open that folder. So obviously Twilio is using a different, it's a Swiss Army tool of things that you can interact or do with the REST API. So they have more than one stuff going on in their library. So again, it's for interacting with their resources and also for interacting with incoming, for example, with incoming calls, incoming SMS. So it's a full-fledged library for interacting with all resources or all the products available in Twilio, not only for procuring stuff but also for interaction. So it's a very heavy library. As you can see, it's right now on my computer. It's weighing close to 20 megabytes. So I'm gonna just show you one method of basically doing exactly the same thing on Node.js, but by using standard libraries from Node.js. So in other words, without having to install anything and basically nothing. So that's how that looks, and how that looks. It looks this way. So for that, I'm gonna use the HTTPS. So the standard HTTPS, Node.js HTTPS. So Node.js HTTPS. So I'm using the standard HTTP client from Node.js. Nothing special. I'm using the query string for creating the formatted URL. So remember that we have to use sometimes URL encoded something. So like this. Let me just show you how it looks. So for example, URL encoded. So you probably saw that when you're browsing on the internet, like for example, this one is using question mark area code equal 510 ampersand or and page size equals 1. So that's a URL encoded. So instead of that's a way of sending data on the URL. So that's so we are using the query string library from Node.js to create those URL encoded URLs. Again, we're just we basically, yes, we have our account, our authorization token. So basically it's basically the same thing, and here at the bottom here I have how I'm using that on an HTTPS request, host API Twilio, the path or the URL we are specifying from our environment variables or account ID. This is the path. So again, this part of the URL, and we're just chunking everything, or just concatenating everything in a result string. If everything goes well, so if it's an 200 or 200 okay or update response, we're just returning that response to for resolving that promise with the result. And if something goes wrong, we are just again throwing an error with the status code. So if we get 500 for one, if one of our accounts is incorrect, it will throw us an error. And additionally, we're also adding a timeout. So if we see that our API call is taking longer than usual, we will just abort everything and throw another error. So that's basically an HTTP request, a classic HTTP request using the standard Node.js library HTTP. So for this first part, we're just passing a parameter to this function. So remember that my HTTP, it's a wraparound function called Twilio API. I'm passing this parameter, so method get, you can pass post, get, put, delete, and all that. The path, so available numbers, US local JSON, blah blah blah, and the URL encoded string. So basically the core string will transform my object into a URL encoded. So area code equals 510, ampersand page size equals 1. Headers, accept application JSON. So this is how the result that we're expecting a JSON as a result. Data, so this is not a pull request, so we're just passing blank stuff. So we're not having nothing, we are not passing anything in our body. So let's just see that as a result. Let me console log this one. Console.log numbers. Let me clear this one. So this one, it's called Node.js, not HTTP underscore procure number JS. Yeah, voila, it's an object. So as you can see, instead of looking more like the SDK, it looks this way. So it's an object with available phone numbers and then an array under that key value of available phone numbers. So it looks exactly the same as our Postman response, as our plain REST API call using Postman. So it's exactly the same. So that's something to keep in mind, that if you like to use this method, you won't get as a response the camel casing result. Okay, so we're just covering the first part of finding the list of available numbers. So now let's jump to the second part, and from that result, from that object result, from this one, I want to grab the first available number and grab the phone number key. So let's do that. Condition, I'm reusing the same function, Twilio APIs. Again, it's the same API, and we are passing now this post request, path incoming phone numbers, headers. Now this URL encoded request, so we have to specify that as our content type, and we are accepting as a result an application JSON, and again that data. So we're passing on the body of our request URL encoded. So again, something like this, phone number and our phone number. So we're passing that. We're basically, let me just show you that. We're basically passing in our body of our post request, we're passing this thing, this string. Okay, that's it. So we're just console log the result of that interaction, and if we have an error, we're also printing that. So let's run that again. Let me clear the console, run the same Node.js file, and again it's exactly the same. We're exactly having exactly the same results as Postman. So we're having that underscore friendly name underscore name. We're having our SID. Let me just copy this. So we're having exactly the same, so our unique ID of our phone number that we just procured for this account, and this is the phone number that we just procured. So 510-592-6948. So let's search for that number in our console, Twilio Console. Phone numbers for all services, and yes, we have that number. So something that ends with 94948. Yes, we have that for Rodeo, California. So as you can see, we just procured phone numbers using the Twilio Console, the REST API using Postman, the official SDK using Node.js, and by using available methods or the HTTP client from Node.js. As you can see, it was pretty easy. And again, the purpose of showing you that is when you're buying or building an application and where you have to interact using Node.js, it's much easier when you know how everything works, and you can basically choose from a simple curl request or a simple HTTP request from any REST API client, or by using the official SDK, or by using the available methods available in Node.js. So let's complete that. Let me just release those numbers. Again, I already paid for those numbers $1. So again, even if I release those numbers right now, that still counts as 1 month. So it's pay as you go. So I'm just paying 1 month upfront. So that's already discounted for my account. So let's go again to our Twilio Quest. So we already completed the first mission using like 4 different methods. Now the third mission. Use the API Explorer to send a text message SMS with the body of HG blah 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 to your mobile phone. If you have a trial account, make sure your mobile phone number is verified with Twilio. So they're asking us to send an SMS message with this body, or this content as body. So let's do that. They are first asking they're asking to use the API Explorer from the Twilio Console. So let me just copy the thing that I have to send. Let's go to let me just go to the first page so I can walk you through the process. So click here in all products and services, click on developer tools and hit runtime. Now scroll down and search for API Explorer. Here it is on the right side. So here I have the different APIs: programmable voice, SMS, phone numbers, API, SAP, lookup, blah blah blah, programmable chat, notify, sync. We have all the services and available from Twilio. So we want programmable SMS. I'm gonna click here on messages. The first one, create a message. So I want to do that. I want to body paste the thing that Twilio asked me to send over my message. Two, it's my phone number, so plus 52. This is my phone number, my cell phone, my account ID. Service ID, we're not using any service ID. We just have to specify. That's it, I think. From which number I want to send that message. So from the list of available numbers that I procure in Twilio, I can send messages from any of those numbers, but I'm gonna just choose my default message phone number. So as you can see here on the right, it's giving me how that request will look like in Postman. Let's send that. Where's that? Send. Make a request. And it worked. I just sent that message. That's the ID of that interaction. And yes, actually, I just received that message on my mobile phone. So let's basically clone this and repeat the same process in Postman. it's a post request. We are sending something. We have to send 3 different keys in URL encoded format. So authorization, basic authorization. Body, we're sending a URL encoded body with key to, from, body. Oh my god. From body. .2 is my phone number plus 52. That's my phone number. Body, we have to send this special message, secret message. And lastly, my from number, from which number I'm sending my message. That's it. Let's send that number, send that request. Yes, I receive my unique ID of my interaction, so it means that it worked. And yes, actually, I just received that message on my mobile phone. Perfect. So now let's jump and let's try to move a little bit faster. Now let's repeat the same process, but now using the official SDK from Twilio. So SDK send message. Let me just close everything else so we don't get confused. I already have a ton of pages opened. Close this one. Close this one. Close this one. So again, very simple. Let me see. It's wrapped around asynchronous functions, so we can actually async this message. So again, we have to send this body. That's what Twilio is asking to send. My from number, from which number I'm sending that message. 956, so it's the same number. To my cell phone. So let's just try that out. Let's clear this one. So let's clear the console. That's called not SDK underscore send SMS. And now we have our camel case response and an object. Camel case account ID. And basically the thing that's the most important from here is the unique ID of our interaction. So this is basically your when you're calling something and you're getting like a unique identifier for each interaction. So this is something that you will use to track and to retrieve details from one interaction, or when you actually have to troubleshoot something, you will use that unique ID to troubleshoot what happened with that request or with that interaction that we made to the Twilio API. So that's it. So we just send a message using the Twilio SDK. Again, very simple. It's a client messages create from this number, from this object, and then return the entire object back to our variable, and we just console log that variable, and as a result we have a non-object with camel case keys as a result. So that's it. So now let's use, instead of using the SDK from Twilio, let's use a plain HTTP request. So send message, HTTP send message. This is it. And again, we're using the same Twilio API function that I created, using again the HTTP request, basic stuff. Again, on the parameters that we're sending, it's a post request to the messages that JSON path. It's content type application URL encoded form. We're accepting a JSON as a response. Let's just update the message here. We have to send this message. So from which number to which number I'm sending, and then console log the result from that API call. So let's try that out. A simple HTTP underscore send HTTP, I missed the P. Okay, we have now the classic response with underscore. So or message ID, it's here. I just received the message on my phone, so it is working. And again, the condition is that we have to have as a response or SMS unique identifier. So that worked. And I just forgot to tell you something, that for basically achieving the same result on Google Cloud, Amazon Lambda, or Azure Functions, basically you can use either of those methods. So you can use the SDK or by using the HTTP client. Here I have here something in Google Cloud. I won't do that because I have to configure my variable, so I have to configure my account ID and my account token, so I won't do that process here, but I will show you different ways of interacting later when we touch base with when we have for interacting with a phone call. Basically we will touch base everything here. Okay, so we just completed that mission. Let's go back. So let's go to our next mission. Create a Twilio bin. So this is important. So we've been interacting with Twilio resources by sending a post request, by using the REST API. So sending HTTP request over the network. So here we have something new. So this is a Twilio bin. So if we open the official documentation from Twilio, let's see, Twilio. This is the official language for Twilio for interacting with voice, SMS, and other stuff. So in other words, okay, so for example, you are receiving a phone call. What do you want to do with that phone call? So Twilio provides a set of verbs. They call these verbs for interacting with your phone call or message. So for example, here on the right, I have XML. It's by the way, Twilio is an XML. It's an XML language. It looks like an HTML also, or like in a plain XML. So we have verbs. Here, for example, here we have to provide response, say hello. So for example, here, if we call our phone number and we have this Twilio XML file, it will say to the user hello world. Again, we have a ton of different, well, not a ton, but we have several verbs available. So we can actually play something to the user. So we can play an MP3 file, we can play a web file, we can gather user information so we can ask the user to use his phone keypad to send numbers. We can record the user voice. We can use voice recognition. We can queue the user into or put the user in hold in a queue. We have again, we have different methods. We can redirect the user to another XML file. That's redirect. So that's the way Twilio works for SMS and phone calls. They use XML files called Twimls that have verbs, and the list of verbs available are in the official documentation. But again, my point here is that the end result that we want to achieve, it's a simple XML file. That's what we want to achieve. So for example, here, let's go back to our mission. Here in our mission, create a Twilio bin that gets the voice caller. So we just have to greet the user with a hello world. So let's copy this Twilio, this XML file. Let's go to our console, click on all of products and services, click on runtime, click on Twilio bins, let's name this Twilio Quest. And as you can see, we're just pasting our XML file. It's validating that this is a valid voice Twilio file. Let's hit create. And now we have to configure by either providing this URL or by selecting this Twilio bin from our phone numbers, incoming phone call. So let me go back to my phone numbers. Let me open my number. Let me use Twilio Quest. Save it. So let me just dial that number. So +1 512 337 1956. So it worked. It was a little bit chopped. Remember that I'm dialing from Mexico, so it takes a couple of seconds to connect the call from Mexico to US, but it worked. So it said hello world. So that didn't work. So again, we created an XML file in Twilio. So they are hosting our XML file in something called Twiml bins. So that's something to keep in mind. So now let's achieve the same thing, but by providing our own XML file in our local server. So by running a Node.js server locally to provide that XML file. So let's work on it. Let's close this. Voice response, yes. So this is voice response, yes. XML, Twilio. Yeah. So this is for SDK voice response. So first, this is the first one. So in Node.js, in order to run a server, you have to use Express. So you have to install that. So Express, and we are also using body parser for parsing results. So let's install both of those libraries or packages. So let me clear this one. Clear npm install Express. Save it to our package.json file. And we also have to install body parser for parsing the results. Perfect. So clear the console. So let me show you something. So how it works. So in Express, when you are running a server, so we are specifying which port we want to run our server, and we're also specifying in our Express client server or in our HTTP client server, we're specifying in which methods and under which path we want to react on. So for example here, if we dial, or for example here the local port 3000, so for example if we dial here or HTTP, let me just comment this down, HTTP :// host, that's our computer, port 3000 / that will trigger this whatever is inside here. I remember this is a GET request. So if we do exactly the same stuff here as post, it will respond with this content. Welcome to Cloud Blob GET. Local server, welcome to Cloud server, post. So let's run this server and see the results. Yes. So Node SDK, and by the way, we're using the official SDK for Twilio. We're requiring that, and for Twilio, they're saying that we have to respond, so we're creating a new response. So this is the way that Twilio it's creating that XML response. We're just requiring the library. We're making a new response from a class, and we're just passing parameters to that class to basically get as a response an XML with the verb say. We're specifying voice Alice, and with the content of our, we're basically wrapping around this response inside a inside a say verb. So let me just run that so you can see that response yourselves. not SDK, voice, response. Oh my god, I note. So let's hit our server. Let's create a. As you can see, yes, we're having our XML file. We're having our response with a verb inside, with a parameter of voice. We're specifying a voice, Alice, that we want to use that voice to say something back to the user. And we're saying, hi, welcome to Cloud Lab GET request. And if we try the same with Postman, just to give you one, show you that it's also working Postman, but now I'm specifying a post request server post. So it is working for GET and POST request. But again, this is running locally on our server. Twilio, it's a cloud service, so we have to make our server available on publicly. So for that, we have two different options, and one of those options is to use an ngrok, or my favorite, and that's to use. Let me see if this is the one with me. And my favorite one is to use Servio or Serveo.net. So Serveo.net is actually now my favorite way of exposing my local server to public network. So I'm gonna use that one. It's very simple. I don't have to install anything crazy, so I'm gonna just do a simple SSH tunnel. So I'm gonna have my Node.js server running on my left side, and I'm gonna have my Serveo.net or Servio, I don't know how to pronounce it, running on my left side. So let me just run it. I'm specifying that I'm opening I want that server to run on port 80, and I want that port 80 to point to my local host port 3000. Okay, so let's see. It's connecting. Oh, timeout. Let's see if there's something going on with the service. They probably have an outage or something. Oh yes, they're not working. Okay, my favorite service is not working, so let's go jump to ngrok. So ngrok, you have to actually sign up, so you have to create your own account. I'm gonna just log in. I'm gonna just copy my authorization token. You can actually reset that token from your settings, user settings. So don't get too excited about using my authorization token. I'm gonna reset that token at the end of this video. So for Windows, it's very simple. You just have to download the zip file, place the zip file in your working directory. So in my case, I'm working from. Let me just clear this. I'm working from this directory. Users, Markwin app, so my user ID, documents, GitHub, Twilio Quest, blah blah blah. So I'm working from that directory. This is my directory, and I have my ngrok executable. So it says here in the instructions that I have to use this, provide this in this format. Again, I don't have to use the // on Windows. The only thing I have to do is just paste the executable, and we're passing an authorization token to configure it. Authorization save, blah blah blah. And to open a port, we are opening a port 80, but we want actually a port open on port 3000. Run it. So ngrok, it's now providing two different URLs, an HTTP and HTTPS request. So let's test the HTTPS one. It is working for a GET request. Let's try it for a POST request. That is working for the post request. So we just made our local server publicly available by using ngrok. Again, I'm very disappointed that my favorite SSH tunnel didn't work. But anyways, so we have that working. Let's okay, that's the URL. Let's configure that URL in our phone number. So we want our phone number to interact with our local server by using ngrok. So that's our HTTPS, the URL that ngrok provided. Saving that one. Saved. So again, we're expecting a SaaS response. We're expecting this one. Hi, welcome to Cloud Love from local server post. So let me dial.
Welcome to Cloud Love from local server post.
So it worked. So at least voice is not it's very robotic, but it works. So we just interact with our local server by using the Twilio official SDK using ngrok. So now let's try the same, but instead of using the Twilio SDK, let's build ourselves the XML file. So I already established that the only thing that Twilio is expecting as a response is an XML file. It's a TWIML file. TWIML file. So let's create that XML file ourselves. So for that, let me just give you a voice response. This is the one. Let me just stop my server, my not Express server. Clear. Perfect. So as you can see, I'm building that XML response I'm just basically creating that XML file with two simple functions. The first one, it's called XML, and it's wrapping everything around the XML header and response tags. And the second one, it's creating the verbs or the XML tags using this function that is basically just extracting the object keys from an object and basically concatenating everything in a string. So very simple to use. And the way that you have to use is that first you are passing an array. So every verb, it's an array that it's wrapped around XML. So again, we're achieving the same thing that we achieve using the official SDK by simply by this array. So I can pass as many as I want. So for example, here TWIML, say voice alias, welcome to Cloud Love. My name is Marco. This is a post request. So you can see, very simple to use, extremely simple to use, and I didn't have to install anything. So let's run that server, that Express server. So node voice response. Okay, it's running port 3000. Let's give it a try. So localhost post. Yeah, it is working. Voice. So we're just chaining those verbs. And it's still working on my ngrok. So if I refresh my ngrok, it is working. So again, I didn't run my ngrok server again, so the URL it's still the same. So if I call my US phone number, we're expecting to see as a result, welcome to Cloud Love, my name is blah blah blah. So let me call again, dialing my phone number.
Welcome to Cloud Love. My name is Marco. This is a post request.
So it worked wonderfully. So as you can see, we're just setting content header application XML. So it worked wonderfully, and again, not very messy. And I'm actually proud of that. Let's just compare it to the official one. Yep. compare it from official one versus the official SDK versus my own version using two functions. You can use either one, so choose the one you like the most. So let me close this one. Let's close this one. And let's go continue with our quest, with our missions. And the last one, Twilio functions. This is very cool. So you notice that we're using a lot of Node.js. Twilio actually offers you to host your Node.js function in their cloud. They're calling that Twilio functions. So here the objective is create a Twilio function that generates a Twilio message with a random fact about docs. Configure a Twilio phone number to respond to SMS messages with that Twilio function. Okay, so it's basically they are asking us to configure a phone number with an SMS trigger that will interact with a Twilio function. And here, if I scroll down, they're actually giving me. Let me just copy this one, the code that I have to use. So again, to configure that, let me just open that here. All products and services, developer tools, runtime, functions. Here is the first option. First option. Let's create a new one. Blank. Let me paste the code. Copy messages, blah blah. So Twilio Quest function doc facts. Let's name that doc. Oh my god. Just put it doc. I'm just lazy. Save it. Twilio signature. So this is if you want to specify a path. So what is the Twilio signature? So as you can see, we can actually hit our servers or actually get our XML response by just simply calling from any browser or from Postman. So Twilio provides a way of securing that interaction. So basically, if the body or the headers of the request don't have a special signature that matches the URL and the server that it's coming from, it won't trigger. So that's a Twilio signature. That's part of the security check. So again, that's for preventing unwanted traffic to hit your server. So you can use that Twilio signature to secure your server. We can here just have it enabled by default. Again, this function, again, let me remove it. If I copy the URL, okay, it's deploying, okay, deploy. If I open that function, it's an XML file, a Twiml file that has a message. Docs can be taught to count and solve simple math problems. So it's basically the interaction here is that we're sending an SMS message and it's replying back with another SMS message as a response. So that's a doc fact. Smaller bread mature faster than longer breeds. Perfect. So just to complete this mission, I remember our function name is Twilio Quest doc. Let's go back to our, let me just open another window. Let's go back to our numbers. Let's click on our, this number, the one that we're working on. So we want to configure when a call comes in, I want to run a function, which function I want to run, Twilio Quest function _doc, save it. Let me send an SMS message to that number. Message, hi. Okay, waiting for that response. Yes, I actually received a response on my cell phone, seeing spots or not on Dalmatian puppies, blah blah blah. So I received that it's working, that interaction is working. And actually, if I click on message log, I will see that interaction that happened. So I receive a message from this number and I reply to that number. So what was my response? The Dalmatian puppies, blah blah blah. So how to achieve that on a local server? So again, if I won't go to the entire SDK thing, again, I'm gonna just give you a basic example. So it says that I have to provide message. Don't have to provide anything here, and I'm gonna just respond with welcome to CloudLove. I'm gonna just keep it simple. Let me run the server again. Let me send another message. I'm gonna just send hi, hola. I'm gonna send hola. I just sent hola. Let me just refresh the screen, and again, we're expecting as a response to respond to an SMS with another SMS message with content welcome to CloudLove on the message body. Okay, refresh. I think we already have it. We paid 0.049 cents for sending that message. Okay, let me for numbers. Let me open the message log again. Okay, delivered. Okay, I'm. Oh. I know what's going on because I'm seeing a weird response. It's message body. So I forgot to change the trigger point. So let me go back to my numbers. Message service. I remember that I have to use my ngrok URL. So webhook ngrok URL. Save it. Saved. Perfect. So let's give it a shot. Try again. Sending hola. Message sent from my cell phone, and I just did I hit save? Yeah. Let me try it again. Oh, it's actually not at the top, but actually at the bottom. The first one is for incoming voice calls or phone calls, and the bottom one is for receive for interactions with SMS messages. Testing. Yes, it's working. Finally. Let me refresh my message log screen. Response. What was the response of this one? Yeah, welcome to CloudLove as a response from our server. So it worked. We just interacted with our local server from running ngrok. Again, so this is nice. We just show you how to interact with SMS, phone calls, and again, let me now show you how to do the same using again my method, because my method is actually faster. We don't have to install anything. So I'm gonna show you how to basically achieve the same result using Microsoft Azure. So as you can see here, let me say a simple say. Let me have something very simple. I don't want anything too complex. Save. Get function URL. Copy this one. Let's see if we have what we want. Oh yeah, let me update the content. Oh my god. Let's see, CloudLove running from MS Azure, Microsoft Azure. Save it. Let's, yeah, CloudLove running from Microsoft Azure. So let me just copy my URL. Let me now again configure my phone number, incoming phone calls, webhook URL. I'm just pasting that URL from that Azure gave me. Let me call. Let's try to work a little bit faster. Dialing.
Azure. El número marcado no existe.
Oh. Okay. It's a little bit fast. Remember that I'm dialing from
MS Azure. El número marcado.
Okay, it works. So it works. So it worked perfectly. Welcome to CloudLoop. So welcome to CloudLoop running from Microsoft Azure. So it worked. Let me just. I'm gonna just probably copy this one and run it from Google Cloud. So let's here we have Google Cloud. Yep. Boys, Alice, welcome to CloudLoop from. Oh God, close. Let me edit this one. This is Google Cloud Functions. So let me update this one. Welcome to CloudLoop from Google Cloud or GC. Save it, deploy it. Okay, deploying. Okay, it's loading. It's taking a while, so let's wait for Google Cloud and let's start working on Amazon. So if we want to achieve the same result in Amazon, so for that we have to create a Lambda function. Let's create a Lambda function. Yep. Node.js 8. This is Cloud Log. Okay, I hit the wrong key. Twilio Cloud Log. Twilio Quest voice response execution role. So which permissions I'm giving my function to execute. Executing. I want to use Lambda. Okay, this one. Let's create that function. I actually have it here already created. Basics, AWS, email. This is the one. So if we take a look, again, this is exactly the same stuff. Let me just remove this line. This line, it's actually not working. We're just responding. As you can see, the cloud providers, Google Cloud, Azure, Lambda, they actually look very similar. So this is Microsoft Azure, Amazon Lambda, and Google Cloud Functions. So okay, it's already deployed. Okay, so I'm gonna just stop for a second on Amazon, and I'm gonna just test my Google Cloud function. Close this one. Let me close this thing. Save it. Okay, let me dial my number again.
Cloud Love from Google Cloud.
Okay, it worked. Next one. Let's now work on Lambda. Lambda. So it's been saved. Again, without using any SDK, so just to make this video faster. So let's just say hi, welcome to CloudLoop from AWS, Amazon Web Services. Perfect. So this is fine, but for Amazon we actually have to use a second service. We have to create an API for that. So let's create an API. Create an API. Twilio Quest. That's the name of our API. We want to deploy this API only in North Virginia region, only in US East region. So I just went regional. let's go and create a simple resource. So voice response, let's call this as a voice response. Oh god, voice response. So this is the path. I want to enable the course headers. Okay, create it. Now I just want to specify a post request method. So I'm creating a trigger for post request. Lambda, I want to enable proxy integration. What is the Lambda function that I want to trigger? Cloud Love Twilio Quest voice response. Saving that. Okay, it's been deployed. No, I'm sorry, it's being created. So that trigger was created. That event trigger was created. Now let's deploy our API. Let's create proof of concept. Hit deploy. So now we have our URL that we can actually test in Postman. Yes, it's working. What? I didn't save it. From AWS. To look at the response. What is my response? Let me just give it a let's see what's going on. Something that's not saving my API. Twilio Quest resources, post requests, Twilio Quest stages. What's the URL? Post response, copy. Oh yes, welcome to Cloud Love from AWS. Okay, perfect, it's working. So let's configure that URL in our phone number service, phone number resource. Saving that one, dialing my number again.
Welcome to Cloud Love from AWS.
Perfect, it worked. So we just show how to interact with Twilio using Amazon Lambda, Google Cloud Functions, and Azure Functions or Function apps. So very simple stuff. So now let's move out and let's go to our missions. We already took a lot of time with this video. I'm actually feeling sleepy. So the last mission is to set up an ngrok local server, and let me click on it. And the only thing that we have to respond with is verify that your page can reach ngrok. We just have to respond with an hello world. Again, we already actually created a ton of express servers for that. So, and actually I already have a simple hello world. So again, it's a simple express server, and we're just responding with a hello world. So let me just stop the server that I'm running right now, and let's run our hello world. Hello world. See if it's working or not. It is working. Hello world. And to complete the mission, you just have to paste the URL at the bottom. So, and actually at the bottom, they are giving you different resources on how to work it with Node.js and Express, C#, JavaScript and Spark, Python Flask, and Ruby with Sinatra and PHP at the end. So again, as you can see, it's very simple. The only thing that we are just responding is with an XML file. Obviously, if for production or for apps that will interact with servers or with resources or with different resources, I highly recommend you to go and work with Node.js. But anyways, I hope that you like this video. Again, it was a little bit long, but we covered a lot of ground. Again, for future videos, we will also cover how to basically work with all three cloud providers, so Google Cloud, Azure, and Amazon Web Services.
So tell me, how was it? Did you like this video? If so, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Also, don't forget to share this video with other coworkers, friends that you might know that like to code or that might like to program phone calls or SMS or interact with phone calls or SMS. So, hope you like it. Have a wonderful day. See you soon.